Recording.
So we're joined from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex by my friend April Weathers, trip communications manager out there in the airline industry, graduate of Mississippi State and Madison Central High School. We thank you so much for joining us. We're in the marketing career cluster, and I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools: Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for getting up early and joining us today.
Of course, glad to be here, glad to answer questions and all the things.
Now, obviously, we want to talk about your career you have now, and you've had several cool internships before you got to the place you are. But just tell us about your high school experience at Madison Central, because Madison Central is going to see this, and we're part of Madison County Schools as well. You were involved in a lot of things in high school that really prepared you for college.
That is true. Oh my God, my time at Madison Central, it seems like it was eons ago. Not to age myself, but definitely a while ago. But it was definitely some of my most fun years. I was very active in high school. I did a lot of sports. I played volleyball, I ran track, attempted to play basketball, but quickly realized that was not my forte. And the reason why I mentioned sports is because it does help with like discipline and all the things. And I'll talk about that a little further because that's helped me in my career, like a certain amount of discipline. I was on the speech and debate team. I led the MC broadcast. So those high school moments were the building blocks of my career. And some of the decisions I made in high school were pivotal in like my major in college and a host of other things. But in short, my time at MC was great. And like I tell the students all the time, enjoy it while it lasts. It goes by fast. So just enjoy it, learn all that you can, and keep in mind that you're getting those building blocks that'll eventually prepare you for college and all throughout life.
Yeah, and the juniors at Madison Central, as well as our juniors here at Velma Jackson, just got a free ACT this week on Tuesday during
Wow.
school. Where was that when we needed it?
Right? Because I'm like, yeah, we didn't have that. And I probably would have benefited from that all those years ago. So they are lucky to have that because yeah, back in our time, God, I sound so old. Back in our time, we that was not a thing.
Yeah, tell me about it. So obviously you had a great, successful 4 years at Madison Central, and you went to Mississippi State where you majored in communications. Now, people don't think of communications as part of marketing, but it is a huge part of marketing. So, talk about that transition from Madison Central to Mississippi State.
Wow. And what a transition it was. But firstly, go dogs. Um, but as I mentioned in high school, those were the building blocks for some of the things that happened in college. Because when I did go to college, I majored in communications, as you said, specifically because I triple majored broadcasting, journalism, and PR. So it was all three of those. And the transition from Madison Central to Mississippi State was, in all candidness, it's quite the transition because it's a little different than high school, meaning you're responsible for getting up, going to classes, like making sure everything is done. So it's a little different than high school. But back to your original question, as I mentioned, being on the debate team, being really involved in like loving like my English class, like that prepared me for what I knew my major would be at Mississippi State. Because all throughout like elementary school, middle school, high school, I knew I was good at two things: public speaking and writing. Like those are my jams. And as I strengthened those skills in high school, it influenced my major throughout college. But let me say, I did not know it what my major would be my freshman year, which is very common when you get into that freshman year and you're like, what do I want to do? Because it's a tough decision to make because the expectation is that major you decide on is likely what you'll do your entire life, which you learn it's not true. But for the sake of this conversation, the building blocks that I started to establish in high school were pivotal in like picking my major and just transitioning to Mississippi State from Madison Central.
Yeah, and the thing about because I went to Madison Central too, I think it's important for kids to realize as they start making decisions to go to college, no matter where you go, it's really hard because we have several that want to go to Mississippi State. We have several alums that have gone there, as I'm sure Madison Central and Ridgeland and Germantown do. But it is very easy to get lost in the shuffle. You have to take initiative. You have to manage your time. You have to find things to get involved in. I know you're an AKA, and you don't have to be in a sorority fraternity, but you can find connections, which can again, it all goes back to marketing yourself, marketing your skills, and doing those internships, finding ways to sell, finding ways to market. And even if you don't go into marketing full time, being able to market anything is vital to career development.
100%. And what people don't realize, like you're marketing yourself every single day, whether you know it or not. The conversations you're having, the things that you're doing, you're marketing yourself every single day. You're establishing your personal brand, which is a sector of marketing. When you go interview, like when you're having conversations with your teachers, or whenever you start talking to counselors about college, like you're marketing yourself every single day. And I think that's something that people don't necessarily think about. And it's something that I initially didn't think about myself either. But as I looked at like all the interviews I was going in, just my everyday conversations, like you're consistently marketing yourself. You're always selling. What's that book? It's like the ABC, like always be closed and always be something like that. But you're literally always selling and like marketing yourself, whether you think it or not, because people are paying attention to what you do, what you say, and ultimately that comes from you. So every day we're marketing, whether we think so or not.
Yeah, and then on top of that, every single industry has marketing professionals. You have people that are in
100%.
marketing at McDonald's. You have people that are marketing at the hospital. You're there working for a major airline in the marketing department. So people see a type of industry and they think, well, I don't know anything about that. Well, if you have marketing skills, it is one of the most transferable skills across multiple fields. You have people that work for the government in marketing. You have people even in the military in marketing. So it's not always about advertising. It's about getting the word out to members, to customers, to there is some advertising involved. It's creating websites. It's creating visual media. So there are a whole lot of things that go into it when it comes to communicating what the marketing goal is for your company or your group.
Yep, 100%. And something I always like to say, especially about my career, is strengthening those skills in your toolbox as it relates to me and throughout the duration of my career. Again, two things that I always knew I was good at: writing, which is the communicating, speaking, what have you. So yeah, communicating was my jam, because there were times when I wasn't at marketing, so I had to pivot, and the industries changed. Like I've worked in like entertainment, PR. I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in something called like magnet wire. Like it's something that's critical in like EV vehicles. But the point I'm trying to make is the industries change. But as long as you have those skills, communication, I cannot stress this enough. It is critical no matter what role you're in. And I don't care if that's marketing, sales, healthcare, whatever. Like you need to be able to communicate effectively. And that is a skill that will take you further than one might think, because like it opens those doors. So again, reiterating, it does not matter the industry, it does not matter the field. If you can hone in on those communication skills, I am a witness, it will take you further than you think it would take you, because communication skills are critical in any role.
Yeah, small things like being able to walk into a room and introduce yourself, being able to give a presentation to clients or even to coworkers, because, like we said, every group has marketing people. You have to be able to be the expert and say, "You're paying me to do this. Here's what we're going to do to make sure we get customers."
Yep.
You have to explain that to people that aren't marketing people, and then in the one-on-one sales, you have to explain to people what it's going to cost and what they're going to get out of it. In your case, in your role, you have to deal with uh, Well, I'll let you explain it, but I know you're dealing with customers that have paid money to get from point A to point B on the airplane.
Absolutely. And and that's a whole other beast within itself. And a little bit about my role currently, like we're preparing customers for their day of travel. So we're ensuring that they have the information that they need so that they can make the important decisions about what they want to do on their day of travel. But what comes with that before it even hits the customer base, there has to be alignment from the upper leadership level. So what does that look like? That looks like sometimes having those tough conversations, presenting, and just being the expert in your field. And again, it goes back to those initial skills that make you, number one, you want to have enough to be like dangerous. That's what I always say. You want to know enough to be dangerous, but in my role, it does come with a lot of presenting, establishing myself as the SME expert, and being confident in the information that I'm, number one, presenting to my leaders that'll ultimately go to our customers to best serve them as best we can. So back to your original point, again, it always goes back to those skills. You got to be able to speak in front of like executives, just like large groups, but not only that, but being confident about the things that you are saying. And I remember I had a mentor one time years ago who told me, listen, not that I'm encouraging students to do this by no means, but number one, it's okay to not know all the answers. It's totally, totally okay, right? But at the end of the day, if you're presenting something, no one knows if the information that you're giving is incorrect. Again, I'm not encouraging that unless you give off the energy that it's not, and you're not confident. But I said all that to say, being an expert communicator goes back into, of course, like knowing your stuff, absolutely, but also being confident in the material that you're providing, because you are the SME, you are the expert. And as you mentioned, people are paying you lots of money to make these decisions. And at the very least, you want to be, of course, knowledgeable, but confident in how you're coming across.
Yeah, and something that is so important, and we talked about this with another guest yesterday in a different class, is people have preconceived notions about you before you even open your mouth, and it's not right, and it's not fair, but everybody knows it's true. As we get, yeah, as we wrap up Black History Month this month, a lot of black professionals that came before now had to go through that. People thought, well, black people aren't educated. They probably don't know what they're talking about. We have a lot of first generation Americans in Madison County schools. People are going to preconceive things about them
Mhm.
that are completely false and completely unfair, but they have to overcome that and say, look, I'm confident enough to show you that I'm qualified for this and I know what I'm talking about. So preconceived notions are going to exist for the rest of time, but how you change that is so important, in how not only you advance your business, but advance your own career.
You are 100% correct. And especially being a Black woman, but also a Black woman in corporate America. And these are some lessons I had to learn like throughout my career, like as I got a bit older. But now, as I'm established in my career and I'm confident in who I am, I've realized two things. Number one, I belong to be in the spaces, in the rooms that I'm in. And when I'm in those rooms, I have nothing to prove to anybody in those rooms, but only myself. That I'm the only person that I need to prove myself to. Secondly, I've also come to the realization, like you said, preconceived notions are real, and we will have them for the rest of our lives, right? But what I've also realized is what you think of me and your preconceived notion of me, I do not care, Greg, because I'm not there to change how you view Black women, how you view people like Black people in corporate spaces. I don't care, because that's a personal problem and that's something you need to work out. But again, this is something I had to learn as I got a bit older, because I found myself, especially early in my career, trying to almost prove that I needed to be there, trying to change minds. And it's very exhausting. And so I had to get to a point where I'm like, wait a minute, stop. I actually deserve to be here. I'm not proving anything to you. So this stops today. And two, you're gonna think what you want to think about me regardless of what I do. You may think I'm this or that, and that's fine because at the end of the day, I do not care. I'm not there to change your mind. And for the people who do have those preconceived notions, it's like that's something you need to figure out within yourself. That has nothing to do with me, but I am going to come into my space, be confident, do my job, do it well. And what you think about me as it relates to like your preconceived notions, that can't cause me too much sweat off my back because yeah, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. And I'm okay with that. But again, being very honest, that's not how I always thought, especially earlier in my career. And if I could go back, that's something I would tell my younger self is number one, you deserve to be in these rooms. And number two, don't spend your time trying to change people's minds. That's not your job because naturally the people who gravitate towards you and they see who and how you are, that's that's all that matters. And those are the people you care about. As far as the people who think what they want to think without even knowing you, who cares? I don't, not anymore.
Now, there's a couple of things I want to hit on before I get to their questions. We talked about you going to Mississippi State, but this is a field you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree for. So if we have some kids that are saying, I don't know if I want to commit to the 4 years, I don't know want my family to be in a financial hole, you could get an associate's or you could even get in with the company at the bottom, work your way up because a lot of these companies love moving people up that are willing to get in and learn a field, show they can write, show they can speak, and learn the business, and that can make them a very good marketing professional or somebody that has an associate's in marketing or an associate's in some of these web design things that can really be useful in a marketing department.
Yep, 100%. And again, it goes back to whatever skill set you have and like how you are marketing that particular skill. When I speak of marketing, I'm talking about my resume in particular because whenever you're, applying for these jobs and all the things, these employers don't know you. They only have that sliver of paper to go by. So like how you are marketing yourself on that sliver of paper and showing those skills, like that's what gets you in the door. Degrees are important, don't get me wrong, they are. However, if you are able to show what you can do and the skills that you do have, that will take you further than one might think. I remember working for a company where someone started in like the customer service department, excuse me, and then years later that person was the VP of an entire department. And that came from, again, being able to translate those skills and like work your way up. And sometimes that doesn't always mean you have to have this 4-year degree or this master's degree. It's all about how you sell yourself and market yourself and showcase those transferable skills. And as I mentioned, if you are able to communicate effectively, that goes far beyond just being able to write and speak right, but being able to raise things appropriately, problem solve, critical think, like all the things, it will take you further than you know. And I've seen it myself.
Now, before I get to their questions, one thing I did want to hit on is, as you know, we have a lot of first generation Americans, a lot of English language learners in our district. And even if they're not already, the need for bilingual professionals in this field has never been greater. So for anybody that is, that speaks Spanish, anybody that knows sign language, any of that, there is such a huge need for you in this field.
Friends, if I could go back, because I took Latin in high school because I thought I wanted to be an attorney, but life's funny, right? So that was a waste. But in college, I took Spanish and I was not very good, first and foremost. And if I could go back, I would have taken it more seriously because now I'm trying to learn as an adult. Me and Duolingo have a date every night. But had I taken it seriously years ago, then it's a great skill to have. I'm just going to leave it there. So if you can be bilingual, that's another tool in your toolbox, and it makes you dangerous in a good way. And if I could go back, that is one of the things I would have taken more seriously, is being bilingual, because it is a critical skill. And I've seen jobs, high paying jobs, really good jobs, that a requirement is to be bilingual. And I'm like, crap, like that cancels me out automatically. But it is indeed a skill. And if you can be bilingual, please like hone in on that skill, because it's something that is much needed in our fields today.
Yeah, and for all of our English language learners in our district, this could be a great avenue for you to get into a great field, because we're seeing more and more Spanish ads. We're seeing more and more need for sign language, more and more Chinese ads. So there really is a huge
Yep.
need for that. But I
Yeah.
do have some questions from the students. I'll get to as many of these as I can. I love this first one. This is Shania Willis. She's in 10th grade, one of our basketball players here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, what did you do to practice improving your own communication skills?
What did I do? So I did a number of things. First off, I've always been a chatty kid since I was a god. My mom probably would say since I came out of the womb. I was always a little chatty Kathy, right? So for me to hone in on my skills, like I did a lot of public speaking things all throughout school, but not only through like school, like elementary, middle school, high school, but at church, like I volunteered to give speeches. I read a lot. Like I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Like I read all the books. But aside from not only reading Harry Potter, I read a lot. So that improved my creative thinking, which in turn improved my writing skills and my communication skills. And I was intentional about doing things that would strengthen those skills. So, like I said, reading, writing, volunteering at church to give speaking events, speech and debate team, intentionally putting myself in environments that would require me to speak, write, and all the things.
Absolutely. It's something you can never practice enough. This is Kelsey Slaughter. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, did you always want to go into this field? And what was your original plan in high school?
So, short answer is no. If someone had told me 15 years ago that I would be working in communications in an airline, I would be like, no, that's not right. Because my dream is to be a broadcaster for E. Like that was always my dream, if you will, was to be a broadcaster for E. But again, life has a way of taking different turns, but I'm glad I landed where I did land, because again, my original plan was to be a broadcaster and I prepared for that. However, when I was majoring in college, I was like, just as a backup plan, if I don't become a broadcaster, what are some other skills I can make sure like I'm honing in on? And that's where the journalism and the PR came into place. And this is also the thing about college. You think you know what you want until you're in that field and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
actually, this is not for me. I can remember being at a red carpet event in Atlanta when I was working in PR, and I was interviewing somebody and I was like, this is not my jam. Like this is not what I want to do. And so I started to try my hand at different industries until I found one that works. But the overarching theme of that was, number one, I love people and I like being able to tell stories through like words and videos. Like that's my jam and that's what I was passionate about. And eventually it led me to where I am now. And I truly enjoy my job. Like I love the people I get to work with. But had you told me this would be my path 15 years ago, I would have told you you've got the wrong person. Keep walking, because that's not me. But again, life has a way of taking multiple turns, but it lands you right where you're supposed to be.
Love it. I like this one. This is Alexander Harris. He's in ninth grade. And he asked, what drew you to work for an airline?
What drew me to work for an airline? I when I moved to Atlanta, like years and years ago. I think that's when the itch started to get there, when I was like, ooh, like I wonder how it would be to work in an airline industry. And it was not something that I had planned for. Again, I just looked for roles that were centered around like marketing and communications. And I'm like, oh, this is, not to mention the perks are really good, but this is something I could really see myself doing. And I just kind of ended up here. But again, looking at the role, looking at the skill set, communicating with people, coming up with plans, presenting, that's my jam, that's my wheelhouse. And that's how I landed here. But it was not planned. Ultimately, it was not.
Love it. All right, I got time for two more. This is John Kincaid. He's in 10th grade. And he asked, what's the most difficult part about your job?
The most difficult part about my job is that this industry changes like that, and you have to be able to make decisions on a fly, because people are looking to you like asking, what do we do about this, like what do we do about this, and sometimes you don't have 10 minutes to, oh, like let me noodle on this. Like you have to make decisions so quickly, and also knowing that some of the decisions you make, like they impact other people, which sometimes can be a little heavy. But in my role, I would say one of the toughest parts is how quickly the industry moves, and how you have to be able to pivot and make decisions and give direction. Because as I'm processing these things, I also have to deliver this direction to my team who's looking for me to make these decisions. And again, sometimes you don't have time to sit and think about it. You have to make decisions in the moment and be able to justify why you made those decisions to like upper leadership.
Big time. Well, I got one more, and he actually just had to leave because he's about to perform. But this is Jaheim Reed.
Hey,
He's in 10th grade, one of our choir members here. But he asked, what was the biggest learning curve you had when you started this new role?
the biggest learning curve I had was I didn't know anything about aviation. Like I was new. I was like a blank canvas. So coming into a role where you know nothing about the industry, that's tough. But even though I didn't know anything about the industry, I knew what I was capable of. And it was again going back to all of the skill sets that I had in my toolbox. And so I used those to establish relationships with people throughout the industry who knew more than I did, so that they could teach me all of their things. But one of the toughest transitions was coming into an industry where you know nothing. But even if you don't know anything about your industry in particular, as long as you have a good set of tools in your toolbox, you'll pick up on it like instantaneously. But yeah, I think that was the toughest transition, not knowing anything about the industry.
Love it. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much. I've been trying to get you on this platform for over 2 years, so it's finally, I'm glad we finally got to do it, and it's just so cool to have another great Madison County Schools alum on this platform because I've had quite a few. But as we get ready to wrap up here, and as these kids start making decisions for their next steps after high school, whether it be to go to college or go straight into a career field or the community college route, no matter what they decide, we want them to have their options. But as they move on and start making those decisions, why should they really look and see that the face of marketing, the face of PR, really needs to be more diverse, just like every other field? Because the customer base is diverse, the people selling it to them needs to be
Yes.
diverse.
Yep. 100%. And especially in these like leadership roles, you'll notice as you go up, you see less and less diversity. And I would love to see some of the wonderful people I know you have in your class, like in this industry soon, possibly even in my role, because we do need more diversity, and you do want your leadership team to be holistic of your customer base. So it's super important. And again, I would love to see either of them or all of y'all like in some of the roles we have at our company, because diversity is needed.
Well, next time you're home, we'd love to have you on campus. Um,
Absolutely.
but congratulations again. I know you got a gift on the way, and really, really happy for you in that regard. But again, thank you so much for joining us, my friend April Weathers, all the way from the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Happy to do it and happy to come back anytime.
All right. Talk to you soon, my friend.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.